Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. We normally wait until Saturdays to post these, but big news happened this week, and the topics we'll be covering this week include the big Diablo reveal, Captain Picard coming back to Star Trek, Fallout 76 not coming to Steam, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the video description, since especially this week, you're probably just here for Diablo news. Just before you skip ahead though, if you want to get your name on the Rikers Raiders 2018 t-shirt or poster, you have until the end of August. And as we dive into things here, make sure you've rang the sub-notification bell to be alerted of new episodes. In our first story, as reported by Variety.com, there will be a new Star Trek series coming out starring Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. It'll be a new series on ABC All Access that is set to tell the story of the next chapter in Picard's life. So that means it's not a reboot, it's not a prequel, it's happening after the events of Star Trek The Next Generation. My favorite character on that show was, number one, what was his name? This guy over here, played by Jonathan Frakes? He was awesome. In other news, Fallout 76 will not be coming to Steam. At least not at the start. If you look at the FAQ on Fallout 76 and its upcoming beta, coming in October, we see that the game is launching on PC only on Bethesda's game launcher. Hooray! I love having a different launcher for every different game I play. Now, it should be noted that Fallout Shelter initially launched just on Bethesda's launcher, but after a year came to Steam. So effectively, once Bethesda's sucked up all the pre-order and launch date sales, they'll eventually consider sending it over to Steam to benefit from these Steam sales. In other Fallout Shelter news, it seems that the beta is basically access to the whole game, and your progress will be saved when the full game launches. So it's less of a beta and more paying for early access to the game. I have nothing against that in principle, but I wish they would just call it that. In Overwatch news, sad news for the Overwatch esports scene. Pro player and streamer Seagull is retiring from esports to focus just on streaming. He was a streamer before he got picked up for esports. He is a fantastically skilled player and a fan favorite, and I suspect him leaving will be a big blow to the esports scene of Overwatch. Apparently, he just got burnt out being a pro player and wanted to go back to doing his thing. In other Overwatch news, the Summer Games will be starting today, I believe, when this video is launching, and we've already had previews of the skins that some of the heroes will be getting, including Gridiron Hard Reinhardt, Wave Racer Diva, Cabana Anna, Catcher Winston, Lacrosse Roadhog, Fastball Zenyatta, and there's also this Sombra Mexico skin. But if you want to see all the skins that are available, just log into Overwatch. In World of Warcraft news, if you've been following what's been happening with the Warbringers cinematics and the in-game events, we've now had the story continue. We left off with the Old Soldier cinematic and the Battle for Azeroth opening cinematic from Blizzcon, where there was the big war happening outside the gates of Lordaeron. Sylvanas had the city, and the Alliance was coming to take it back. That's my understanding, I could be wrong. Well, amid the quest events happening in the game, we've had a couple new cutscenes emerge that continue to tell the story of what's going on. There's some twists, some turns. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'll pop the links in the video description. I don't want to spoil anything, but I do want to point out one thing that was noticed by Redditor The Great Malagan. This particular scene so closely parallels a cinematic, possibly my favorite Blizzard cinematic ever, from Warcraft 3. It's when Arthas returns corrupted by Frostmourne. He has become the Lich King, and he comes back to kill his father, the King. He walks in, takes a knee, and is just all, "You no longer have to sacrifice for your people." It's a really amazing cinematic. If you have not seen it, I'll pop a link in the description below to that. Doesn't matter if you are a Warcraft fan or not, it is a great cinematic. Alright, on to Diablo news. First off, a patch for Diablo 3 came out this week, killing the M6 multi-shot exploit build. That is the Marauder build that uses multi-shot to push really high in greater rifts due to potion snapshotting. Now, M6 multi-shot is a decent speed farming build, but for greater rift pushing, Unhallowed Essence multi-shot far outperforms it, unless you're using an exploit. So what happened was you had some top players that were really pushing far, beating out any other Demon Hunter clear using M6 multi-shot, and so a lot of people started to get on board with, oh, this is a great build, and they started making M6 multi-shot, but either not realizing they were also accidentally using the exploit or not using the exploit at all, and just through placebo effect were thinking, oh, this is such a great build. M6 Cluster Arrow is the strongest Marauder build for Greater Rift pushing. Multi-shot is more for speed. We also allegedly saw a big ban wave for botters this week as well, which follows a ban wave we had last week. And okay, let's get to the big Diablo reveal this week. Diablo 3 community manager Brandy Camel spoke to us in a video. She spoke a bit about how this theme season has been a success and how we're going to see more and bigger themes in the future, but then she said this.
We'd also like to let you know that the forges here at Blizzard are burning hot, and we have multiple Diablo projects in the works. Some of them are going to take longer than others, but we may have some things to show you later this year. We hope you stay tuned while we work to bring these Diablo experiences to life.
So this was the huge reveal this week, the great news for Diablo players, and this solidifies my suspicions that we're going to get something else before we get a Diablo 4. To me, when she says some of them are going to take longer than others, she's basically saying Diablo 4 isn't ready just yet, but we'll have some other stuff for you in the meantime. I'll clarify that I don't believe Diablo 4 is terribly far off, but with all the rumors and chatter we've been hearing over the past several months, I was highly beginning to suspect that there was something else Diablo-related in the works. Now, what could those other things be? Now, in theory, other Diablo projects could just be the Book of Adria and the comics, which we already know about. And while, yes, this is true and possible, I don't think it is likely, because Brandy has historically been very careful not to overhype us. In fact, last year, she actively kept our expectations low for BlizzCon. So I feel that she would expect that we would interpret her words to mean games or something game-related rather than the lore book and the comics. So, assuming that we're talking about games, our possibilities for what these Diablo projects could be include Diablo 4, Diablo 3 Character Pack, Diablo 3 Expansion, Diablo 3 Nintendo Switch port, a Diablo 1 or Diablo 2 or both remaster, or some kind of a mobile Diablo game. Now, of these, I fully believe that Diablo 4 or some major new PC-based Diablo game is definitely coming and has been in the work for years. To me, that's a guarantee. But I believe it to be a slightly more far-off project, but hopefully not too far off for a BlizzCon reveal. Because whatever the other Diablo projects that Blizzard has to reveal to us, the community will receive them much more openly if we know that there is a Diablo 4 coming, that this isn't it. And it could be something as simple as how Bethesda revealed Elder Scrolls 6 with basically just a title card. So, new Diablo game is a certainty to me. What could the other projects be? Diablo 3 expansion, I believe, is very unlikely. There was a second expansion planned for Diablo 3 at some point, but I believe it was cancelled, and the pieces that were completed or near completion were polished off and parceled out into updates for Diablo 3, including Kanai's Cube and certain regions that came with it. Plus, it's now been 4 years since the release of Reaper of Souls. Generally, when Blizzard releases expansions, it's within max 2 years of each other. At least with games like Diablo and StarCraft, which follow each other's release patterns. But most importantly, I believe that Diablo 3 has been handed over to Blizzard's Classic Games team, and we brought up some evidence for that in a previous video. And part of the reason is that there is a Classic Games job posting that I believe points to Diablo 3 rather than Diablo 1 or 2, and we haven't seen a major Diablo 3 patch released since late 2017. So I think now more than ever, maintenance mode is confirmed. So if we are to assume that Diablo 3 is in the hands of Classic Games, I don't believe that they could handle launching an expansion. Can they keep running seasons? Yes. Can they do bug fixes and maintenance? Yes. Can they come up with new season theme ideas? Yes. Can they develop and launch a whole expansion? Absolutely not. So they're taking care of D3, while the Diablo team now is focused on the new projects. I also think something like a character pack would be too much for Classic Games. It took the Diablo team about a year to develop the Necromancer, and they had experience developing all the Diablo classes. Classic Games, you'd be giving it to a bunch of people who had never developed a Diablo 3 class before. Now, what I believe is possible is a Diablo 3 Nintendo Switch port. We've heard rumors about this in early 2018, that there would be a Nintendo Switch port. It hadn't occurred to me at the time, and I was initially disappointed by that rumor, but you know what? It wouldn't be the end of the world. In fact, I've started warming up to the idea quite a bit. I don't own a Nintendo Switch, but the idea of a portable handheld Diablo 3 that you can play wherever you want, could be fun. I mean, they ported Skyrim over to the Switch, and it's an even older game than Diablo 3. If the game is currently in maintenance mode, if there are no more major patches coming out, this is actually the perfect time to do a port of the console version of D3 over to Switch. You don't have to worry about different patch versions. If this does happen, then we may see cross-platform play between Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. You won't see it with PC because the PC version is very different, and whatever would be ported to Switch would definitely be either the Xbox or PS4 version, or something specifically made for Switch. But regardless, we likely won't see any cross-platform play with PS4 because Sony doesn't allow that in general. On the topic of a remaster, I believe a remaster of Diablo 2 is relatively unlikely, given that David Brevik, one of the fathers of Diablo, expressed how difficult it would be to remaster Diablo 2, how there would be so much more work involved than remastering StarCraft, and how remastering Diablo 2 could effectively break the way the game plays. A lot of the casting animations are tied to the game's frame rate, and this could potentially pose problems. Now, all that said, I do believe that it is possible that Blizzard could overcome these hurdles if they have strong enough desire, enough time and money to throw out the problem. I believe that a remaster of Diablo 1 is more feasible from a technical standpoint, but a D2 remaster would be more highly desired, both from fans and by Blizzard. And regardless of feasibility, I do believe that Blizzard would have the desire to remaster Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. It's not that I don't think the will is there. It's a question of, is it worth the resources to do this? Now, on the topic of a Diablo 2 remaster, Redditor Kubiobu recently found that you can actually download a Diablo 2 PTR installer. The story started last year in 2017 when a PTR came out for Warcraft 3. Kubiobu went into his Battle.net account, clicked on the link to download the Warcraft 3 PTR installer, and then changed that URL, changed the Warcraft part to Diablo 2, and nothing happened. However, he tried it again this week, and it worked. It downloaded. And not only that, it ran. This is what loaded up. A D2 PTR installer actually launches. It does throw an error, it doesn't manage to download anything, but it exists. And further investigation shows that this even works for a regular Diablo 2 installer, not just for a PTR installer. Now compare this to the current known Diablo 2 installer that you would normally download through your Battle.net account website. You can see that this is definitely a different version, a newer version, an updated version. And again, despite the fact that these installers fail to actually install or download anything, the fact that they exist is noteworthy. Now, many people are interpreting this as a sign of a Diablo 2 remaster. However, it should be noted that Warcraft 3, which got this last year, literally a year ago, has yet to see even an announcement of a remaster. They had their PTR launcher, they've had big patches to Warcraft 3 since February. We've had widescreen support added. Just this week, Warcraft 3 got another new patch, but no remaster. So it's possible the same may happen for Diablo 2. It'll be updated with a new installer, it'll be partially ported over to the Battle.net client, the new Battle.net client, the way Warcraft 3 has been. We'll maybe get some new features like widescreen support, maybe some updated social features like Battle.net friend integration, but no actual remaster. And I think this is a more safe bet as to what we're getting. I think we'll, at the very least, get this. Some updates to Diablo 2 the way they've been updating Warcraft 3. Now, from our list, that leaves the possibility of a mobile Diablo game, which is a distinct possibility. Blizzard is currently hiring a quest designer for a mobile game. Now, before you groan, remember Fallout Shelter, a mobile game that released before Fallout 4. That was intended to tide fans over until the actual release of Fallout 4. And you know what? It was a fun game. For a mobile game. I'd always rather play a real game, but, whenever I'd be riding public transit, or winding down for bed, or going to the Batmobile, the Batmobile, it's what I call my car. I'd just bust out my phone and play a little bit of Fallout Shelter. And I can see some kind of similar Diablo mobile game being a fun distraction like that. As long as Diablo 4 is coming. Now, one question, why now? Why release this video now? Could it be because there's a third round of Blizzcon tickets going on sale in about a week and a half, August 18th? Could it be that maybe they want to give Diablo fans a little heads up that, yep, we're going to have some announcements for you this year, so if you want to get your butt over to Blizzcon, you got one last chance to buy some ticks. Ultimately, I don't know what the reveal will be for BlizzCon, but it's going to be something, and I'm looking forward to it. And we'll finish off with our weekly update on Diablo job postings. We've seen a new one crop up. Rigging Artist Temp. So a temp position for a rigging artist for the unannounced new Diablo project. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. Be sure to check out last week's video where we talk about how a burning tree made a bunch of World of Warcraft players very, very mad. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoy what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where we've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.